Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are watching this video. In this video I'm going to be going through the images that I took whilst me and Steve were on a recce or a pre-visit to Grimsby. We might still be, I don't know yet, I haven't made my mind up, but we was going to be going to Grimsby to do the project on the difference between industrial Grimsby and holiday maker area of Grimsby. So whilst we was on this the recce, I thought I'd have a go at getting some of the images for the brief that you're going to be doing, just having a go at it. So the images I put together here, by no means would these be images that I would put into like my portfolio that you're going to be building. This was more sort of like, you know, what I could get out of the day. And what I was thinking was like, if I could get one image from the day, then that would be, you know, a bonus, because I wouldn't expect you to get the whole of this project done in one day, even with sort of like some really good planning involved in it. It's going to take you more than one day to complete this project. Now, where the biggest part of the project is actually practicing and seeing what images you can get. So going and taking images and then going back and getting the image again after you've looked back at the image and revalued the image, and see what you could do maybe slightly different from what you've done in the first place. Because nobody can go out there and go, right, I'm going to get this image, I'm going to get a colour image, I'm going to get all of this and go bang, bang, bang. If you do, you're very lucky and well done for doing that. But this is why we give you such a length of time to actually do it. And like I said before, I would keep doing all the practice stuff right up until the Easter break, and then really concentrate on getting the portfolio together, because the more you practice with it, the more you get to see and get to understand. So what I'm going to show you now is a Lightroom catalogue of the images that I've done on the day, just purely as sort of like a practice to what I was going to be doing, what I liked about the images I took, what I didn't like about the images I took. Did I take them, you know, in the right format for the portfolio? I forgot what it was called. I was going to call it a magazine, but it's not. For the portfolio, so, you know, some images have to be landscapes, some images need to be upright, and some of them need to be square. And I think the problem that you have is when you're taking the pictures, when you're outside concentrating, you constantly have to remind yourself about the format that it needs to be in. So if I'm doing a colour image, which is going to be my front cover, I need to do it as an upright picture. I need to maybe have space at the top for the heading of the portfolio. I need to have space within the image for laying down the particular parts that have been asked for. So you have to think about all of those bits and pieces. And when, you know, is this image supposed to be a square format, or is this a landscape one? Whereabouts is it going to be going, and so on. So you've got all these things going on inside your head whilst just trying to get the images for the portfolio. So let's have a look at the images that I've done. So like I say, this was just a practice, really, you know, seeing what I could get from the day. And overall, I'm happy with the majority of it, and disappointed about the other side of things. You know, I really didn't concentrate hard enough, because I was looking at the place for, you know, like an MSc trip, as well as thinking, oh, I can do images for the undergraduate brief and so on. I think I've got sort of like, distracted on both sides of the coin. So I think you need to go out and just focus on some images on one day, some images on another day. So break the portfolio down, down into segments. So maybe because the front cover is such an important thing, maybe do, the front cover one day, just go out and get images for the front cover, and then maybe another day, maybe look at negative space and the rule of odds. So just have two themes on that day, so you're not having to worry about lots of different ones, and maybe look at it in terms of going out one day and getting all of the landscape kind of pictures. Excuse me now, I'm just having a sip of my tea. So maybe go out, like instead of going out and looking at negative space and rule of odds and the rule of thirds, just go out and categorise, say like, all right, I'm going to do my landscape type pictures today, which is A, B and C. And then another day, right, I'm going to do my upright pictures, which is another set. And then another day, look at the square images that you have to get. So you're just concentrating on the format as well as then the pictures, and then then just to have your camera in landscape orientation or upright orientation when you're taking those pictures. So these are the images that I took throughout the day. I'd say some of them I'm really pleased with. Some of them I would definitely do again, maybe at a different location, because the portfolio doesn't have to be shot at all one location. It doesn't have to be shot, say, if you go home for Easter in your hometown, all of that area. You can shoot a portfolio in all different places and have all different kinds of images throughout the portfolio. But I've broken this lot down, so if I was looking at what would be my colour images, these are the ones where they got the prominent colour to them, and your colour has to be an upright image to go on the A4 magazine, but the front cover really has to have the most impact about it. So with your themes don't have to be connected throughout your portfolio. So my overall theme here is obviously street photography. So you wouldn't have to have a portfolio full of street photography. You could have, portraits in there, landscapes, street photography, stills, set-up shots. So you could have a portfolio of diverse type of work, and that I think would be really nice. But because I was in one location when I was having, a pop at the portfolio, then they're all street photography images that I've done here. So none of them, I think, are of really any strong value to them in any way whatsoever. They are just what I'd say kind of like grab shots, recce shots, thinking about my techniques and stuff like that. But I do like one or two of them. I am particularly keen on this one, but this one there's no real impact to it. It's just an overall colour with shapes and patterns and so on in it. So even though I put it down as being a colour image, it could be, if I wanted to look at maybe the shapes within the actual picture, and so therefore it might be stronger than the colour image. But I like that one, and another one that I really like as an image is this one. So I've got a little bit of colour in it, and the colour in it, which is the workman's barrier kind of thing, is the most dominant part of the picture for me. But I also like the curvature going round to this point within the picture, the red barrier. So that was interesting. And also then I've also got this one as well. And again, I like the direction within this picture, taking us to the green bin, which really stands out against the white wall with the dark door and stuff like that. But when I was looking at this picture, the light was behind me, so you can see here's my shadow here, and I don't worry about getting my shadow into the pictures. Sometimes I think it adds an element of the photographer into the image. So sometimes I quite do that, especially if the shadow is quite long and traversing quite a bit into the image. I think that can give you a sense of a leading line within the image. So that I think works well. But it was the fence, travelling and pointing towards the green bin. And I've got area up here for putting in my heading. But like I said just previously, you need to have your best image on your front cover, because imagine like if this was a magazine sitting on a shelf within the newsagents and stuff like that, we are really drawn to the picture element of the magazine before we start looking at the writing. The exception being if it's a regular magazine that we purchase, then we're not, the front cover to it is kind of like secondary. We want that magazine. It's part of a collection that we're doing, so we pick it up regardless of what the magazine's about. But if you want to grab the viewer's attention, you've got to have your most powerful image, something which is really outstanding, really got a visual impact. The aesthetics of it has got to be really good. So if this magazine was for refuge collectors, then I think that this as a front cover would work really well. But otherwise, no, it's not my most impactful image that I took on that day. Now, on the next part that I'm looking at, enhanced movement, I really didn't even think about enhanced movement whilst I was out looking at Grimsby for doing the MSc project. I really didn't. It didn't even enter my mind in enhanced movement or frozen and stuff like that. I didn't think about it at all. I was more concentrating on images which were for rule of thirds, rule of odds, shape and pattern and all those kind of things. I think I was just focused on that, and it wasn't until I was travelling back that I kind of thought about this picture, which is similar to the one that I've shown you before with the lady on the bicycle. So I had my camera in hand, and then I focused on the wing mirror, but I wanted to get something in the wing mirror so that we could see that was frozen in time, but then also then the movement which was going on behind the actual wing mirror because of us travelling. So I used the car's movement to get the enhanced movement. That was what I was looking at here. And I quite like the fact that the window was very dirty as you look through it. So it kind of, what I was trying to do there was kind of make people look at the picture and think, well, what's that all about and stuff like that. So I still kept the elements that I wanted to help the viewer, lead you to a position. So I was lucky that the light was looking in our direction, because then you've got these light streaks coming here. So it's pulling the viewer into this way, and then you've got this big shape here with the cars in the background. But then I lined this up with the barrier so that, you know, if you're reading the image from left to right, you're coming across the page here to this area, and again with the dark area and these bands of light, left to right, we're reading the picture. This line here, this line here, these lines here, and so on. And then you've got the movement, which adds to the pleasantness of the background. So that's when I was taking that picture. All those things were in my mind when I was thinking about it. So that might be one for the enhanced movement that I might use. Framing here. I've got several pictures that I was thinking about framing. I saw this old pub which was all boarded up, and had this geezer painted on what would have been, I think, the doorway, I would presume. And I like the colours which were surrounding the actual brickwork. So this kind of dirty yellow which is everywhere going round there, and you know, it could be this could be a picture for our pattern as well, because you've got the pattern within the brickwork and the pattern on the pavement, and then we've got the pattern in the windows as such. But I kind of liked it more for framing. So this is the how I ended up with my framing shot. Now, I'm purely a black and white photographer. So let's break the subject on black and white. Can you use black and white within your portfolio? Now, I'm not against students, you know, experimenting with black and white within their portfolio. The only problem is that we've got a colour image. We have to show colour in one of our images. Now, in the past, because I changed the brief around every year, so you know it's a different experience. Not necessarily for you, for the students, but for me as a marker, you know, it keeps me engaged with the project and stuff like that. So I change, you know, how this brief looks. Keep the same kind of elements, but change around how each image sits within the portfolio. So I think this year it's actually works out to be quite beneficial in terms of the colour and black and white, because previously when we've had a portfolio and colour is sitting within the actual portfolio, I've always recommended that if you're going to do black and white and you're going to do colour as well, keep a balance throughout the portfolio, so that, you know, you've got, say, like 4 colour images, 6 black and white, or vice versa, or split down the middle, having 5 of each and so on. So keeping a balance going through. Because if you put in, say, 1 colour image into a black and white portfolio, the problem is that colour image stands out as being, saying to the viewer, this is the best image, look at this image. And then everything else gets negated, that you think the rest of the images are secondary to that colour image. Now with colour being in the front page, that's what you're really saying. This is my best image. I put you on the front cover as my best image. So therefore you do want the viewer to look at that and say, this is, you know, the best of my portfolio, and everything else after it is as good, but this one is my best shot. So I think it works quite well for this portfolio that is laid out. So therefore you could, if you wanted to have your colour image and then have the rest of them going as black and white, or have the colour image and then say like the first 5 as black and white, and then the last 5 as colour. or you could even have the first 8 as black and white and the last 2 as being colour, because it's like any story, you know, you have to have a good beginning and a good end, and then the middle helps you travel through that story to get to where you need to be. So yeah, so I went for black and white. It's the way that I like to see things, but that doesn't mean to say like you should be doing all of your images in black and white. That sounds a bit like a contradiction to what I just said. But I don't want anybody thinking, well, David likes black and white photography, let's all do black and white, because it doesn't work that way. Some images suit black and white and some images don't, and obviously with my years of experience I know what suits black and white and what doesn't. But I've done a little bit of work on this particular image here. So the fellow with the beer bottle was quite fainted, but I wanted him to be framed. So, you know, where the light has hit in certain places, you know, I've then enhanced the lightness there. And where it's got dark, you know, I've lowered the exposure and so on to make it a little bit more darker. So it adds contrast to the image. So I think then this painting of the fellow with the beer bottle is being framed quite nicely, you know, with these uprights here, but also with the actual lighter area within the image. But I don't want you just to look at this part of the image. What I'm asking you to do when you see this image is to actually, with these uprights, is to travel round this area and come back down again. So this fella is being framed, you know, by this area here, but I'm also asking you to look at, you know, different parts of the image, but then you're drawn back to it. So this odd frame going on here. So the way that I've cropped the image, you know, is helping me to direct the viewer. So anybody who says that I'll get it right in camera, which, you know, you should be, I suppose, working towards that, but you don't always get sorry, talking too much. You don't always get the image correct. You do sometimes have to do a bit of post-processing to get your image where you want it to get to. So this is kind of like the similar to what this one was, but I did actually move closer when I did this one. So I've moved in closer. I haven't sort of like cropped in on that particular picture. I did actually move in, but if we take it even wider, you know, we've got all of this area as well. So there's other shop fronts as well. The part of Grimsby that we went through, it was like this high street was about a mile long, and all of the shops were closed. I don't know if it was just closed for that particular day, or, you know, if COVID has affected the area, or, you know, Brexit has done it, you know, damage as well. But yeah, all of these shops were closed down and stuff like that. So I was looking at this one, and the colours really caught me on this one, and I'm undecided between the actual framing, colour and pattern, because, you know, we've got good pattern going on with the actual tiles and stuff like that. I think what it really needed to enhance the framing a little bit more was maybe to have a sign in there, and then I could have used this like Chinese style to actually this would then be the framed area. It needed maybe to have the door open, and then you've got a frame here and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm only doing sort of like a rough draft at the moment to get me to certain points within the portfolio. So I was just having a look. So I got these ones that I put into leading lines. And I was really like a strong contender with this one. So this is in the underpass one that I'll show you in a minute. But if I was going to work with this one, what I'd want to do is do this line coming down here. I'd want to bring that top down so that the line would come in from the corner and take us down to the bottle of vodka. And so I'd cut out some of it, so that kind of like area would be what I was looking at. And then I've got the leading line coming down to the bottle, and simplicity of the shot. So this kind of like tells you what the underpass was like. Empty drinks bottles and the floor stains and all the rest of it. That was a strong contender for me leading lines. I took this one, and again, see, I've got me shadow in there leading. But when I saw it, I thought, oh, that'd make a strong picture. But then when I actually seen it on the computer, I think, oh, it's not as good. I was a bit disappointed, even though I got all these like leading lines and my shadow being the leading line. I needed something, here to add more drama to the picture, so that these leading lines would actually take you to something. So that's what was missing. So it goes to show you that when you see something and you think, oh yeah, that makes a good picture, and when you get it back and you have a look at it on the computer, you think, oh, it wasn't as good. So even I do these kind of things, even after all these years of taking pictures. But this was my chosen one. So I like the leading lines that we've got going on here, going down to this area at the back. So this is leading as well. But I like the strong shapes also within the picture as well, which was giving us direction. But the car parking bays and so on, can't believe people would park their cars underneath this. It was like in the middle of nowhere. I'd be worried about my car not being there when I came back, but some people might be braver than me. But I like the shapes. I think these leading lines actually then lead to those shapes, and we go down with the leading line, and then we go on with the leading line. So the leading lines all work within the image for me. The only thing I think I might do differently is this bit of a square here. It kind of like it's becoming a barrier for me coming in from this area, and I pop into this square. So I might, if I do a little bit more work, I might sort of like see if I could clone it out so it doesn't become a bit of a stopper within the image. But I had these ones here. Again, I needed something of interest in this area. Really good leading lines, but nothing, maybe I should have got Galloway to stand there and say, oi, stand there for a moment, let me take your picture. Or somebody walking towards me, or something happening, an interesting character, somebody walking their dog, or something like that, because I've got all of these good leading lines, all going into the picture, but nothing of a strong element. So, this is what I felt like in the day. You can go out sometimes on these days, and things don't happen for you. Things don't come together. But don't be disappointed. This for me was like a practice, a recce of the area to see what I could get out of it. You can take pictures like this and you can get ideas from them. And you go, right, I'm going to go back to this location and this is what I'm going to do for this particular image. So it might not go right on that day that you go out, but you can make it go right on another day. So nothing is ever lost. You always learn from what you're doing. So from the whole day, I came back with just one real image that I was really, really happy with. And when we get there, I'll show you what it is. But these ones are put down as being my negative space when I was looking at the images in Lightroom. I used the cataloguing system within Lightroom to do it. So these are the images I put down as being within my negative space. I really like this one here, the sunken boat. But for me, it hasn't got enough negative space within the image, even though there is still quite a lot. I think I've got the boat here, and then there's this kind of like barrier, I suppose, or something's there, a wooden structure, might be part of the boat, I don't know. But yeah, that just seems to be occupying the negative space, so it didn't happen as much. I like the picture, but it's not hitting this one. I was just walking along and there was this random tea bag just dropped on the floor, and I like there was this big puddle, well, not a puddle, but an area which had got liquid spilled onto it, so you got the contrast between the dry pavement and the wet pavement, and then the tea bag. And then there was this little bit here which was kind of like, the smaller brother to the tea bag, as such, as the way I saw it. And I did really like the image, and Galloway was fighting me over the image as well because he spotted it after me. So, he was having a bit of a domestic over it. He was stopped to have a cuppa in Asda, and I saw this area here, and I kind of like really thought like, does it make a negative space? And I took the picture and kind of like playing with it in my mind. What could I do? And what I think I would do is I would take these out, I'd clone these out so that you got ingredients, food, because that tea was really like getting in my way, was annoying me. So I thought I might play with what I've got here. But I like this the settee, the grey and then the green, and I didn't want to impose myself too much on the area. We were snapping away. I wasn't sure whether an Asda worker would come up to me and start telling me off. We'd already been told off once in the day by an overzealous security guard who wanted us to delete all our images from the day because he thought that we was taking pictures of stuff that we shouldn't have done, but we weren't. And I think Steve told him so, nicely, but he told him so. This one here, I saw this, and it's kind of like the roof had just been taken off of this building. But this was my main area of interest. This was what I think is the main subject within this area. It's all of these panes or windows, or what they would have been. I think to myself, how on earth have they managed to stay up there? With all the strong winds and stuff like that. But then I've got negative space going on here, and negative space in this area. So yeah, I think that's a good negative space image. I like this, and I also like the contrast between this off-white and the blue that happened here. But and this one as well. Do you see the poodle? There, look, there's a poodle. Can you see it? Yeah, I like the light falling on this pillar box or whatever it was, and the broken one. So I was thinking about this. Should this be negative space, or should this be texture? Because you do kind of like have those battles going on inside your head as to which image is it? Is it a negative space, and is it a pattern, or is it texture and so on? Well, I give you these themes just to help you focus on what's in the picture. It's like I say, this one could be texture, it could be negative space, you know, but overall you're heading towards a good composition. That's what we give you these themes for, is get you towards a good composition. Because you can know your camera inside out, you can know about shutter speeds, you can know about apertures, you can know about depth of field, and all these kind of things that we use more when we go into the third year. This is more about concentrating on composition. If you get all your technicalities correct, but don't get your composition correct, then you haven't got a good image at the end of the day. And that's the problem. That's why I teach it this way round. Learn about composition and then learn about how to get good techniques to get to those compositions that should be good. And that's the way that I kind of like teach my photography. Well, I do teach my photography in that way, and I've been very successful in the students who've learned how to do good photography. If you don't boast yourself, who's going to boast for you, is the way I look at it. So the next ones that I went on to were pattern. So here there's various ones that I looked at in the pattern. This was B&M. Was it B&M? Not B&M. Was it B&M? Something like that. Anyway, and it was a poster on the outside. You know, one of those. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called. You know, well, anyway, I had all the big dots and stuff like that. And I haven't put this one into colour. It's just purely, if I go sort of like into the develop, you'll see it comes up. Sorry, I hadn't put it into black and white. It is shot in colour. It's just that at the time when I took the picture, I had the preview on in black and white. So, you know, there's I like the patterns within this image. It's it works really well. And I like the shapes and so on as well with this picture. But it's not, I wouldn't call it a strong picture. There's not strong elements into it. I need to do something else with it to get to kind of like where I want to get with it. So things like the buildings and, you know, all of these patterns here, it's quite interesting. If I was going to do something with this one, I'd have to bring over this edge, so it concentrated more on what the pattern shape is. But yeah, again, when we was in Asda, I was looking at this one, you know, for a pattern, the tables and stuff like that. But on this particular image, I've got really, really shallow depth of field, which is something we'll talk about later on. So, you know, it's very only focused on really on this part of the picture. So that I wasn't too keen when I go back onto the computer. But this one here is my favourite image from the day. This is the one that really caught my eye, and this was in Burger King. Makes it sound like all we did all day was eat and drink, but that's not the case. We only had 2 stops, one for lunch and one for a cup of tea before we went back home again. Having said that, you know, we arrived in Grimsby at 11 and left at 3, so it was only 4 hours that we was actually in Grimsby for. So, you know, overall, in terms of like 4 hours, you know, I got quite a lot of pictures done. But I did, this was my favourite. Then I put it in, this was the first one I put into black and white from colour. And I actually quite like this image in colour as well, because you got the daylight outside, and then we've got this artificial light in here. And this was had gone quite yellow, this light. And it did give it sort of like a 1950s kind of feel to it. But I wanted to put it into black and white because I just wanted to concentrate on the pattern of the floor and, you know, the windows creating their own kind of pattern, and, you know, the pattern of the chairs and stuff like that. So a pattern is when any kind of shape repeats itself throughout the image, and then it creates a pattern. And I like the fact that there's no one in the chairs, no one's sitting there, so it gives it the emptiness to it. So yeah, this is for me, not necessarily is it for anybody else. Anybody else can pick out any other picture, I suppose, but for this one, for me, was my favourite one that I'd taken during the day. So I think I got one image that I really, really liked from the day, and the rest of them are images that I could work with, I suppose. Rule of odds. Well, now this is another one when I kind of got fooled by this picture, because when I saw it, right, I looked at the seats on top of the trolleys, and I'm thinking, well, that's 1, 2, 3. And I kind of didn't notice. I thought they were all double buggy ones. Didn't realise that these were 2 single and that one was a double one. So I saw that, and because it was a busy area, I saw it, and I liked the picture. I liked the construction of it, and it doesn't work for rule of odds, but I like what I've got there. I've got the trolleys and the brickwork, and there's shadow and there's light and so on and everything else. So I like the elements. I like the fact that there's this empty poster area here as well, and that I was attracted by sort of like the texture, and then the smoothness of this thing. But what I was going for was the rule of odds, and I didn't notice, but there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 trolleys, and it still kind of like bugs the hell out of me as to how comes there's 4 trolleys but only 3 carriers, baby carriers, in it. So this one here must be one without a baby carrier to it. But yeah, I thought, oh, that's going to be a brilliant one for like rule of odds in that picture there. So I was fooled. I like the chain going around the trolleys as well. So there's lots of elements that I like to this picture. It doesn't meet my rule of odds theme, but I think I can actually do something with that and make it into another picture. But this is the one that I would really liked as my rule of odds. I like the bins that were full of bottles, and the other 2 were drunk and fell over, kind of story to it. And I also like the texture which is going on around the bins as well. So I think overall, with the pictures that I'm taking, I think I was more taking a story book to the images. So, telling a story kind of like of the area that we was in, rather than sort of like fixating myself on particular themes. But you can do that. You can use themes to actually help you tell stories. So this one is for the rule of thirds. But I think this particular one, I would have preferred to leave it in colour rather than go for a rule of thirds on it, because this was a big bright letterbox, and then you've got the steel and the colour of the bricks. And that's kind of like, you lose elements to your pictures when you put them into black and white, because I think this is a stronger image for a colour image than it would have been for black and white. So I kind of like, I'm losing what was there in the picture in the first place. So that's kind of like a bit disappointed. So if I was going for a portfolio full of black and white images, this one would be stronger as a colour image than it would be as a black and white one, because the red was really, really vibrant, and the brickwork, and then the steel colour, all of those really made a strong, colour image. And I was actually crossing the road when I took this picture. Normally what I would do, I would take a landscape, and I'd take a an upright as well. And I think if I took this in an upright format as well, then it would have been a very strong contender for my front cover, because the colours were really, really, really dominant within the frame. But I like the picture, and then I put it into black and white, and I think it really just doesn't work at all as a black and white image. So that was a bit disappointing to me. Now, shape, I got loads of ones that I thought would work well for shape pictures and stuff like that. I particularly like, again, this was Asda. I kind of like the sign here and the camera looking at the sign or looking at me, and so on. And you like your seagulls flying around in the background. So that one, when I first saw that, I didn't kind of see the head. And in fact, I think if I was going to do something with it, I might even take the head off, clone it back to green, because it first looked like a hand walking across the pavement to me when I first saw it. But it's a hand with a circle above it. Is that what I see with it? So what else? Yeah, these were. This was a strange one. This was these old signs on the wall. I really like those for the shape category. And the car park and the sign, then the arrow pointing to my shapes and so on. So, but then I got these ones as well, where I silhouetted the frame of this metal staircase against the bright blue of the sky, and I like that one. This one here caught my attention, but when afterwards, when I looked back on the computer, I thought, man, no. And similar to this one, when I first saw it, I thought, yeah, that's an interesting one for shape and stuff like that. And I think if I was going to work with it, I'd sort of like crop like the middle part of it to make that work better. It's not a finished product at the end of the day. So texture, let's go on to texture. Yeah, good. You've got these abandoned buildings and sort of like these old objects in brick walls was textured ones. This one was quite good. I was interested in this one. This was looking through a window, so I'm getting the texture of the outside with the texture of the inside. And there was this old boat which was being repaired, and these bundles of rope and stuff like that. But I was looking through the window, and it's quite dark in there, and so I was seeing the reflection of what was going on outside. Seeing you've got the reflection of the pavement and the texture of that. So it's kind of like a confusing mindset that I was trying to introduce with this particular picture. But this one, again, I thought was I liked the numbers and the flats 1 and 2, and then all the signs which have been stuck to the doors and so on. But the lens didn't help me out there with that particular crop, because I wanted to get sort of like the bottom of the letterbox and the handle in, as well as the numbers and the flat 1 and 2 and all of this. This was all very interesting, but I just wanted a bit more of the area down here. And it is good to look at your pictures, okay, and pick out the bits that you don't think are quite right with what you're doing. And like I say, I think because I was in two mindsets on this day, I wasn't fully concentrating on what I should have been concentrating on. But overall, I was quite happy with the 4 hours that we done in Grimsby, and the number of pictures that I got that I thought I could get something with. I saw this ship here, right? And I took that picture first of all, and then I took that one. And then what I thought I could do with this one is actually bring these together in a mosaic of images and not line them up properly, but kind of give this broken pattern to the actual shape of the boat. So I haven't done that yet, but I think it's an image. So creating one image out of multiple images is the thing that I was looking at there with this one. So no way is it gonna line up. I'm not trying to make a perfect panorama with this image. I want you to be able to see several images brought together to create one image. If I was going to do a panoramic image of this boat, I would use a specialized lens called a tilt shift lens, which allows me to shift the front element of the lens across my actual sensor. So I can take 3 pictures and then I can stitch them together and I get a really beautiful panoramic. That's the way I normally do my panoramic images. But this one I thought, about stitching or combining together several images to make up one image. I thought that would be quite a good little exercise for me to do. Yeah. So overall, I just went out for 4 hours, came back with some ideas, came back with some pictures and stuff like that. So it wasn't a complete success for me in the 4 hours, I would say, but it wasn't a bad trip. And just show you those 5 images in a bigger format before I finish. Having a sip of my tea there. So yes, so showing those images. Steve's going to show you his images as well that he got. You might have already seen Steve's video, so if you already have, then you've already know what his images are like. It wasn't a competition at the end of the day. It's just to show you how we look at things maybe differently or even the same, because I haven't seen Steve's images and Steve hasn't seen my images. So we might have had similar images or we might not have. So it's the way that 2 people are out together photographing and what they see differently, because we all do that. So again, that's the boat one. I like the boat one, but I don't like it for your negative space. But then I might convince myself, yeah, that is good for your negative space. Picture of the man with his pint. I just like the way that the light is falling onto that building and it's sort of like making it more of a highlight. There's me underpass one. And there's the Burger King image. So I haven't done much work in terms of the outside exposure compared to the inside exposure. So this area was quite a lot more darker than obviously what your inside was, but I managed to get the exposure quite balanced between the inside and the outside, so you can see all what's happening on the inside and then still see detail outside. So it's a little bit more thinner on the outside in terms of my exposure than what I would overall like. I mean, some people would photograph the inside, photograph the outside, and then combine the 2 images together. I said to you, it's not about getting it right in the camera, but quite a lot of the time I like to get it right within the camera as well, to save me work in post-processing. A lot of people like to put a lot of work into their post-processing. It's not one of my areas that I like. I like getting the images and then just doing a little bit of work in post-processing to get to where I want to be. But there, that's my 4 hours at doing the brief, to show you what I could do in 4 hours. You might be able to do better, and I'm sure a lot of you would be able to do better in 4 hours and stuff like that. But like I say, don't think your portfolio has to be, each theme has to be connected in terms of what I've got here is street photography. It doesn't have to have that theme running through. You can have various pictures, you can have still lives, you can have landscapes, you can have street photography, you can have scientific images, you can have all sorts within the actual portfolio. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there now for you. Hopefully you've got something out of this video that I've put together, and there is a sequence of videos that are there. Like I said, there's this one, there's Steve's one, there's one of us chatting in the car about, on the way back, about what we thought we'd got, which was quite interesting to think what you got, and when you finally look at your images and you think to yourself, no, that didn't work out quite as well as I thought it was going to do. So it's quite interesting, that process. Before you look at your images, think about your images. Did I get that? And you go, oh yeah, I got that, that was that one. And it might not be the case, or it might be that you did better than what you thought originally when you was travelling back. So okay, for now I will see you in a bit, and enjoy your photography. So bye for now.